decided to do a live stream today, and the reason we decided to do a live stream is because Facebook appears to be down, and we don't want anybody melting down trying to figure out what's happening and who's doing what to whom and everything else. From what I can tell, um, it appears to be that somebody just deleted Facebook from the domain name servers. That can't be by accident. It can't be. They just deleted them. Okay, well, we can't take your servers down, but we can delete your DNS entry, and nobody will be able to find you.
Worldwide.
Worldwide. Global thing. Yeah, my high-speed cable internet, disconnected from Facebook first, and then my tablet, which was on a hotspot, dropped out, and then finally my phone dropped out, and it said, "We're having trouble, please check again later." What do we call you, Saul?
Saul's a
Soul.
drunk guy at the end of the bar trying to pick up one girl
Oh.
half his age. I am either a ray of sunshine or I am just SOL. No in betweens.
Okay. Soul Wild Hair. Where does the wild hair come from?
My husband and I, we have some acreage in middle southern Washington. We're just 10 minutes by the Eagle to Oregon, an hour if you're jumping around on going around the hillsides by road. And we got together and we were looking for a place to live together. And I lived in the Dalles, Oregon, and he lived in Hood River, which is, liberal kingdom right there. Very expensive. We ran across this place, and he's a pilot for entertainment. And he works up on the North Slope, which is ending soon. And we bought this place. It has a runway, and he had been looking for a place to park his airplane. And there's a long list, nobody's building, and so we ended up getting this place, and it was called Warwick Airstrip. It's just a little dirt airstrip, 2,200 by 100, and has a nice house and a hangar, and we've thrown a couple greenhouses on. We got a third one coming up here soon, and we bought this place on Wild Hair. And we live in Wind City because the wind turbines that run up and down the gorge, not in the gorge scenic area, it's about 5 miles east of us. They're, turbine farms going for hundreds of miles. And so your hair gets a little wild. So it's a twofold thing. And we changed the name of the airstrip to Wild Hair. And we tried to change the name of our little street we share with one of my best friends, and her address is off of her driveway, and they told us that we had to wait because they were inundated, and this was before COVID, and if we would mind waiting, or right at the beginning of COVID, and they had not shut down the courthouse and businesses yet, but so we waited. But the name of the airstrip in front of us is Wild Hair, and we have a business. We haven't put anything in the business yet. I'm working on being an organic farmer, except for I won't be labeled organic per government regulations because that is just stupid, crazy, expensive, and
Oh yeah.
way too many rules for it. So I'm thinking calling it Sold Wild Hair Organics, but I have to look into that, see if I can call myself that, because I have no pesticides or sprays. Everything I have is heirloom, and I start my own seeds inside, and I work to my hoop house. It's a little smaller. So that's where Wild Hair came from.
Oh, there you go. So you have hoop houses and greenhouses out
Well,
there.
I have one hoop house. It's my seed starter. It probably 20 by 30. It's a little tiny one. My big one is 30 by 100, and we just purchased another one. It's used. My big one that we just got in last summer I had one season, late season. This summer I had a late season. My husband is a genius, and he took out all my dirt to make sure I had no rocks. So he sifted my dirt and took out all my rocks, which is wonderful, but I didn't get in till mid-June. Part of it wasn't
Mhm.
planted until July.
Yes,
And
but his heart was in the right
oh
place.
my gosh, who can complain about a man that takes out your rocks? He's amazing.
Yeah, takes it
Um,
upon himself
I
to
know.
dig deep in your dirt. I mean, there's
I
lots of men that will dig deep in your dirt, but not in a beneficial way. This is what I'm saying.
Well, he likes to dig deep in my dirt. So the
Okay, so
next
you've got the
greenhouse
best of
we
both worlds.
yeah. So the next greenhouse we got is even bigger. And he says, oh, no, we're not going to make it as big as it is. But, he's going to want to park some of his equipment in there, even if I don't grow it. And I'm a little northern, so he's from Oklahoma and loves okra. And I had a little weasel stout problem. It destroyed about 2/3 of my okra, but I could sell okra here. And
Mhm,
so that next one's going to be pretty darn big. I'm just going to put okra in it and we're going to cage it in. So, because I am the oasis in the desert, 5 miles west of me, there are trees. Here, I planted the first year we were here about 100 willows, and I've been adding trees every year since. 10 to 15. I've added a lot of greens and evergreens and slow growing ones. The willows were to give us a windbreak, and they grow really quick. They're 25
mhm.
feet tall or more, and within the first 3 years. So, and then I'm planting the slower growing, ponderosa pines, just really sturdy stuff. So I, I don't know how anybody could be bored. We're not bored here.
Wow.
So
Uh, and it's important to if you're gonna grow anything, it's important to do it indoors. It's really important to do it under a greenhouse because between the acid rain, between the different nuclear reactor problems that are going on around the planet, Fukushima is still leaking into the ocean, and that water is evaporating, and it is coming into the air and blowing around. So even if they weren't putting nefarious things in the clouds, even if they weren't doing cloud seeding and weren't doing chemtrails and things like that, it would still be a really good idea to grow indoors.
it
Is that
is.
what you found?
Yeah, it extends our season. We don't do a lot of chemtrails here because, well, the wind blows too much for that. But there's all kinds of other things going on, radiation. There's a lot of radiation everywhere. We have all kinds of different places. I like being able to, I'll be able to start pretty early here, and my greenhouse will go till late October, maybe November, depending on, the weather, what they give us.
Oh, that's
And
great.
yeah, so at this point, I'm ready for harvest to be over.
Yeah.
I got so many canned and dried and pickled, and I mean, it's just my husband and I. I took my youngest to college, so this last mid-August. So, not that she ate anything healthy. She's, got that stuff going on because there's
It's
nothing healthy in fast food or on the grocery shelves anymore.
it's what they do.
Yeah, one of my degrees is in health and wellness, and I was doing a deep dive, and I was looking into preservatives and that kind of stuff, and I had ran across a funeral director that had a little statement out saying that they use 21% less formaldehyde because we are already preserved. I mean, you think about it. If a can can
Wait,
last 2 years on a shelf, what the hell does it have in it?
wait a minute. Wait a minute. An actual undertaker said they can use 21% less formaldehyde because his customers are already partially preserved. That's
That
what
was
you
10.
said.
That was 10 years ago when I
Oh
finished
my god.
when I finished that degree up 10 years ago. Yeah, I've been
Oh,
deep diving my whole life. I grew up in the military and knew all this stuff was bullshit. I just, nobody believed me. I was a nut job. I thought Star Trek was the disclosure when I was a kid. And my brothers are like, you're just, you got a tinfoil hat on, girl, and look,
and now
look
you're making
at
them
you
for the
now.
rest of them.
Yeah, yeah. So, I just think that, even things we see, I don't believe anything anymore. I know even the woke crowd that watches YouTube's like probably 90% of those are CIA, FBI, or just completely disinformed folks channeling some kind of woo-hoo-hoo in their heads.
Yeah, some kind of woo woo.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, the government's been able to do that for quite a few years. But, the government would never hurt us, would they?
Oh no, they would never ever hurt us.
No.
Um, but it's like there are so many different things. There are so many different ways uh, that we're being attacked. There is so many different falsehoods that we've we've been exposed to, and it's just craziness. It's
You know, it'd
absolute
be
craziness.
it would be quicker to discuss what isn't corrupt or lied about or poisoned or any of that kind of stuff because there's so little of it. So I live in a bubble. Um, I had to quit substitute teaching because I get migraines pretty bad from a car accident in my
Uh-huh.
20s. And they let me wear the shield. One school did. Then they told me I had to attach material down to my belly so I wouldn't get spittle on them just in case, I might have that
Mhm.
branded flu.
Yeah, the third
And
word. The third word,
yes,
third letter of the alphabet word.
yeah, that one.
Yeah,
And
the 3 word.
and then they sent me a thing. Would you like to be have a thing in your arm so you could work? I'm already not wearing a burqa on my whole body. So
Right.
why would they even send that? But now because our governor Inslee has mandated cloth mask and pokey pokey.
Mhm.
So they can't find people to work because well,
Well,
a
it's on
lot of
them.
people retired early. A lot of people like me just said no, no. And I think I worked maybe a dozen days since March of 2020, which is kind of really hard to pay your bills that way. I mean, we're still managing. My husband's working. I think he's got 3 more days at his job. And then he does oil, so that's getting closed down.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he's gonna be home, but he's really smart. I just do art, raise kids, I garden, dehydrate, I grow stuff. I love to grow stuff.
Mhm.
We're kind of high desert, so I got the oasis
Mhm.
pretty close for a good 10-mile radius of anything. So wildlife comes here, which we love. We may own a little tiny airstrip, but we get eagles, hawks, owls, raptors of all kinds. So we put raptor poles up. Not on the runway, of course, but far enough away that we
Yeah.
could watch them, and they hunt our property. We also have a mouse problem, so we appreciate them because they're helping us eliminate that problem, which they get into our engine, tear up our filters, and then put dog food in our air filters or AC area. And next thing you know, we've got to tear the engine up. It gets really old. So we encourage any
Mhm.
predators that will eat those little bad boys. No
Yep.
offense if you come back as a mouse or something. But uh,
Yeah, no offense intended to anybody that intends to reincarnate as a mouse, okay? No
exist,
offense.
yeah, past
We're
lives
we're
or whatever you believe. Yeah, I'm open to everything and believe nothing.
right.
It,
Well, I came across the coolest YouTube video the other day, and I'm sure, that there's people that are watching us that are going, "Okay, yeah, sure, build a greenhouse." And they're Googling, and they're looking on Amazon or on eBay or whatever, and their, um they're seeing all these greenhouse plans and kits and stuff for a couple of $1,000, and they're thinking how impossible it is to do that. Well, I came across a YouTube video. Anybody who wants to search YouTube, I mean, after the show, of course, I don't want anyone leaving to go Google this right away. But there there is a video of a couple that put up a 10-foot by 20-foot hoop house using 9 mil plastic and some 2x4s, 2x4 as a frame, and they used cattle panels, like 5 foot
oh,
or 6 foot by 20-foot cattle panels, and they just hooped them up over the frame that they had built, and they created this awesome hoop house greenhouse.
okay. So let me tell you about my hoop house, Paul. Were
Okay.
you done? I'm sorry. I get excited. I hardly talk to anybody but my puppies. Um,
Okay.
our hoop house is made from trampoline hoops, two old trampolines, and I don't know where my husband got them from because I have a trampoline I jump on and with my dogs and take pictures of sunsets, not while I'm jumping, but so I won't take 1,000 pictures of the same sunset. So we took two old trampoline hoops and we framed in the ends with some old wood that we had to tear down on, and we took two big giant we had to secure because of our winds, sticks. They're like a foot around, huge. And then we not zip tied, used tie downs and tied our frame down to these huge things. And then the only thing we really had to purchase was the plastics. So, and then this year we actually double plied it, which helps with being able to hear in the high wind days because we put air in between. So it's supposed to make your plastic last longer, but it also helps when it was just one ply and you got 30, 40 mile an hour winds. It sounds like you're in a wind tunnel and you can't hear your phone ring. And I listen to podcasts and videos, and if I couldn't hear anything. So the two ply works out really good. So that thing cost us probably less than $500 to build because my husband, not that he's a hoarder or anything, he collects good stuff that we built
Right.
a hoop house out of. So, and that one's smaller, so we use that one to start the seeds in. I start them inside, then I take them and transplant them and put them in there. So a little heater with electricity heats that whole thing through the winter. And we're working on a solar system to heat all the greenhouses in our house and hangar. And so we've got everything. It's just, time. So, as long as we can pay our bills,
Right.
we got time. So that'll take care of a huge electricity bill because they just upped their prices again. And funny was my daughter worked before she went to college for PUD, and now they're remodeling our whole we can't afford our taxes, but our whole town is just being built a new courthouse and everything to consolidate all these things. I'm kind of curious how we can't afford anything, but we're building new buildings and remodeling and buying all new furniture, and yeah. So hmm, government,
Wow.
does it really work for us?
Hmm.
Not in my
Yeah,
town or
maybe not so
state.
much.
No, not so much. Not in my
Well,
county.
I've actually got a little bit of that YouTube video queued up, so
Sweet.
let's take a minute and see how they have see how they've come up with that. And I gotta see what screen what screen I can use. Well, that's picture in picture. So, see, you're gonna have to excuse me, folks. Um, I've only started figuring out how this stuff works. So, here we go.
Ah,
Blessed and beautiful.
perfect name.
There it is. They just put the 2x4 frames out on the side, took the cattle fence panels, and just hooped it up. You got to make sure that the bottom frame is nice and strong, otherwise the bend of the hoops will push out on the base.
Foundation's so important.
Yeah. And they overlapped the panels about 5 or 6 inches and wrapped, connected the panels together with tie wraps.
Zip ties, yeah.
With zip ties. Just staple the fence panel into the top of the 2x4. They had the greatest idea in holding the panels together. Well, actually, they didn't overlap this one, but they just drove nails into the top of the 2x4s, and they just hooked the panel in behind the nails, and that held it so they could staple it down every second or third cell. And you can go forward a little bit and see where they're starting to put up the verticals to hold the ends. And framed in the door one end.
That's
I'm
awesome.
going to show you how to get rid of scratches in 2 minutes without paying thousands of dollars.
You always run
I
into
parked
the
my car out on
potential
the
that
street.
you're going to have an ad or something. So, and she talks a little bit about how they did it and what they did at the end, and explains how they put in the windows and things like that.
So we have finished the high tunnel, and I wanted to show it to you guys. We've got our compost down. We're doing the no dig method. So we've got all of our cardboard laid down, and then we have really good compost as our soil layer in the high tunnel. And so I want to give you guys a quick tour of what it looks like completed. Now, we don't really have anything in here. The only thing we have growing in here right now is we did transplant our peas in here. We have other starts in the greenhouse, and we have other seedlings that are also inside of the house as well. They're just not big enough and strong enough yet to come out here. So it's just a clean slate, ready for all of our seedlings to go in here very soon. But I wanted to give you guys a quick tour of what it looks like now that the high tunnel is done. High tunnel, hoop house, whatever you want to call it. But I'll tell you guys, after building greenhouses several times, and I have a video on how we built our cute little greenhouse, and I'll link that right here. But after building greenhouses, I can tell you that the high tunnel build with the cattle panels has been so much cheaper, and it was way easier. I mean, it took Joe and I, what do you say, Joe, like 2 days? I think it was like 2 days to put up this hoop house. So versus, you know, I think 3 weeks to build the greenhouse. So, but we're working with wood with the greenhouse, staining and all of that. So this high tunnel has been an awesome project, and it's going to really give us a lot more space to grow, and it's going to protect the plants from the elements, which I really love. So let me give you guys a little tour. So here it is on the outside. And as you guys saw, all we did was gather the plastic around towards the door frame. And then Joe put together this simple door. We have screen here, also a screen window in the back. That way we have good ventilation this summer. I'm gonna sneak in here because it just started raining. So this is it, you guys. Look at this awesome high tunnel. I am so excited. We packed it down with compost. There's probably maybe 3, 4, 5 inches of compost in here. We used some of our extra cattle panels to put down the center for our peas. But the plan is to have a walkway right down the center, and then we're going to be able to just plant a bunch of veggies all along the sides of this high tunnel. It's nice and tall. As you can tell, I mean, I'm like, the ceiling, I can't even touch the ceiling actually, so it's really big in here. It's awesome. So we started these seedlings inside in our bedroom. We only have one good window in the house that gets like tons of sunlight, and that's in our bedroom. So we have this big shelf in the bedroom next to the window with all of our seedlings. There's just a ton of space in this high tunnel. So it'll protect all of our veggies from the worms, caterpillars, the chickens, all those things that like to eat our plants.
Now, the only thing that I would suggest is to get some 5mm sheathing and create like thin long boards or flat panels that would go around the bottom right here on the outside underneath the plastic. Just build a 2x4 frame and then cover that with like a 5mm sheathing, just to have a solid panel, and then put the plastic over that, and that would keep varmints, rodents, and chickens out of it, because really all they've got to do is peck through the plastic, find one hole, and then the scourge that goes through is going to do it to you, I guess. But
Well, what we did a little differently than what they did, we used, I can't remember, we call it Goofy Wire. It has a track, and all the greenhouses sell it. You can buy it by the foot. It's really inexpensive. And so instead of having nails, because one day that would be ripped out from staples or nails or anything like that on the plastic. And this Goofy Wire, you put this in, and you can put the plastic in, and then you string this goofy wire that goes up and down like that, and that holds the plastic intact. And also on the bottoms, yeah, you're gonna have something walking through that and nothing flat, because plastic does get real brittle pretty fast. But you can also put windows down there.
Mm-hmm.
And also on our ends, we used a variegated plastic stuff that, has a square lock, kind of square-ish, but you can buy it by the pieces. And we put those on the ends. We also added windows, frame those in, and then just cut around the plastic. So the plastic part is really hard. You'll never have to change that out again. And it's clear. We see through it. So, light comes in on both ends. So, but that's a really great, fast way to do it too. I would
Yeah,
put windows
it's
on the
something
bottom
quick
end.
and easy.
Yeah, I would put, you can pick up at any restore or, home place, old windows, and I would frame windows on the bottom so I could open that up. We have on our big house roll-ups, which is really, really super easy to do too. And so we have it under our wiggle wire and we roll it up. I would have had the wiggle wire. The only thing I would change on my big greenhouse is I would move the wiggle wire up so roll it up even higher. It does go, I think, to about 4 feet, maybe 4.5 feet high. So I roll up my sides in the summer. And we put chicken wire in to keep out the varmint. But he's like those weasels are like magicians, and they can sneak in anywhere. So we got him on videotape, and I don't know what he's standing on, but he's 4 feet in the air. And I have these giant sunflowers that go like to the ceiling of our greenhouse, like 15, 18 feet tall. And he's leaning over. Well, I'll do it this way. He's leaning over. You can see it's one of those game cams. You can just, kind of see black and white outline. And he's got his mouth doing this to my okra plant. And he goes and he bites the leaves off. Sometimes it's just the leaves. Other times he bites the plant in half when it was pretty small. And then he piles it up. And I talked to an exterminator, and he said that's his way of saying, this is my space. So, yeah, keeping those varmints out. In our next greenhouse, we're putting chicken wire all the way around, because we have stuff starting to try to crawl into from underneath that will take out your roots. So we're going to put that down
yeah.
3 foot, and then we're going to stick it up 3 or 4 foot. And we'll double that, and zip ties are amazing things. So I love that video.
Amazing.
Yeah, I love that. That was phenomenal. I've got some friends that want to build a greenhouse. If you're in the state of Washington, go to your agricultural department. They have a program. You have to buy it, but they pay you back for the majority of the cost of the hoop house. And we put some specialty things in, like double plastic and a fan and some bigger doors so we could drive our tractors through either end. But they paid for probably 95% of my greenhouse. I think we're on our third year. For 4 years, they say they monitor it, but they've never been out. They want us to grow directly into the ground. Really, the only two rules: no marijuana, not a problem. And I know they keep reminding. They send reminders just in case I might have forgot. And no pots in the grounds. And I have always considered being a nursery, because I like figuring out. I've got a yellow tomato.
That big? Oh.
Well,
Okay.
this is a tomato that I kind of worked out of my beautiful cherry Sunkist tomatoes, right? And it has that flavor. This not as sweet as this, but it really is very, very tasty. This is a Sol tomato. But you can genetically modify through Mother Earth, or however that works. I have
Hybridize.
heirloom. I've been
Oh, there
planting
you
them
go.
in between with my heirlooms, and so now I have my own heirloom. And I was selling at a little fruit stand last year. My girlfriend sells all her goods there, and I was filling in what they didn't have, and they didn't have these. This year, they're growing my tomatoes, so I got to find something they don't have if I want to sell there.
Wow.
So, yeah, I just would like to make back my costs because we have to bring in dirt. I bring in compost from a place called Dirt Huggers. I call it Dirt Huggers Gold.
Hmm.
We use three buckets from a big tractor. 3 buckets of our dirt, 1 bucket of gold, and 1 bucket of sheep manure.
Sheep
Good.
dip.
Yeah, good stuff. Some sheep poo, and then in the summer, when at the late part of summer when they've sucked out all the nutrients, I take buckets and I put the sheep poo and I call it poo tea.
No, no, now, the word shit has gotten a bad rap because there's a very, very good reason for where that word came from. And it came from the ships that used to bring manure the over the ocean because the the cargo holds were damp and they typically had water in the bottom of them and it would get into the manure and it would start to mold, and by the time they got to where they were going it would be useless. So they used to write shit on the containers that had the manure in them because what shit stood for is stack high in transit. So that would be up at the top of the cargo hold and not down below where the bulk of the humidity and the standing water would be. So shit is really just enunciating stack high in transit. And that's where that word came from. And
So
I'll bet
it's
you could have gone the rest of your life without knowing that little valuable tidbit of information.
very. I, I think that's very interesting. So that's the top of the ship.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's where it would be it would be stacked high to keep it away from it, to keep it away from the moisture. So, the next time somebody tells you you don't know shit, you can
I'm on the
share with
top of
them.
that.
You are on top of that. You can share with them that little story, and, and it'll shut them up, guaranteed. Guaranteed. It'll shut them up. But, um, oh, yeah. Dean is asking if we're still up and running, and,
Bring
yes.
them on. The more, the merrier.
Yup. Come on in. Yeah. There we go.
Did I actually
Um,
see Tanath
yeah,
active?
yeah, Tanakh was
Bring
in there.
her on. I begged her like a year ago, and she came on later that week. And I know she's busy with school and stuff, but
Yeah,
that woman
and
is amazing.
she's also not, she's also not, um, she has, um, people that she lives with that and a lot of noise and stuff like that going around, going on at her place. It's kind of hard to for her to carve out some time. It's got to be rigidly scheduled, and you
Bring
know,
on Patty. She just tell her.
I just shared the join link right in there. So um,
Oh, where's my
I
phone? I can do
I
that.
shared the join link.
I have two devices. It's backwards. There we go. I have two devices, so
Oh, there you go.
I can go and say, "Hey, we
I'm
want to see your
surrounded.
beautiful face," which I actually said that the other day to her, and she doesn't really answer sometimes.
Yeah, I'm surrounded by devices. I have one device here on the desk. I've got three more devices over there against that wall. I've got a device over there, another device over there, three devices in the bedroom. And I've got one device here on the desk that isn't even on, two devices here that I could carry around in my pocket if I was an idiot. Um, so I'm surrounded by it.
It explains a lot.
Okay, gee, thank you
Just
so
joking.
much. Geez, I didn't get you anything. Um,
Ah, that's okay. I'm good.
Gee, for the compliment there. I didn't get you anything. Oh well.
Oh, hey, get this, Paul. I had a root canal. So for many years, I didn't wouldn't say I neglected my teeth, but I had the choice of being a single mom and feeding my children and paying the electric bill, or having a real pretty smile, right?
Yeah.
So last week I went in and I grew up in the military. By the time I was 14, every tooth had a filling, and I don't really think that I really had that many cavities because my brothers never brushed. They had nothing. I
Uh-huh.
brushed and carried a toothbrush with me, and every time I went in there, they had like a, a ton of work going on. So a lot of that's fallen out and stuff. So I'm not a very good patient. I don't numb well, so I have to get the laughing gas.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, and they has to shoot me up like as many times as he can till the point where they don't allow it anymore. But so I thought, okay, I've been trying to meditate. I'm not very good at meditating. I mean, my husband, we try to meditate. We usually either go to sleep or have sex. It's one or the other. It automatically puts us to sleep. So I'm thinking this is a good time to practice my I meditated through a root canal once they got me numb. I was like so proud of myself. I'm like, oh, I got this. But
Cool.
I didn't go to sleep.
Uh-oh.
I meditated through a root canal. I don't know anybody else
Mm-hmm.
that could say that. But
Neither do I.
no, no, I was
No.
excited. I've been working on that, and it's not real something that I have a gift for. I always feel that I meditate through my art. I teach calligraphy, taught watercolors and painting and floral design, and then through gardening, of course. So I think because I always just get kind of lost in doing those things, that's probably better meditation for me than sitting and trying to listen to somebody. Oh, you feel your toes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so breathe deep. Don't
Yeah.
forget. And my problem is I forget to breathe. I breathe real shallow, so I don't get a lot of air to my brain, so I'm a little ditzy. But
Hey, I resemble that remark.
ah yeah, but
So well, we've asked both Dean and Patty to come in and they haven't shown up yet, but
uh,
um
they
and
might have
I've asked
looked
them,
and
you've asked them.
they might have looked and just been somewhere else when we put that in, so you never know.
Um yeah, uh, they haven't picked up the message yet, but I know Patty's seen the last time I put the invite link in there. So
So Paul, where are
mhm.
you located? You're like New York or something?
I'm in New York. I'm
What's going on
upstate New York.
there? What
Um, just a
I
whole
hear you
lot of
got a
communist crud.
I hear
Whole
you
lot
got
of
a new governor or mayor or whoever
yeah,
replaced
and
that idiot.
I think we jumped from the frying pan into the fire because I hear tell she's related to Nancy Pelosi, and she has already been on video when somebody asked her about the constitutionality of lockdowns, mandates, and what have you. She actually said, we're not looking at the Constitution at this point. We're looking at public safety. What? Wait a minute.
Uh-oh.
You're not looking at the Constitution? So you like arbitrarily decided that you are above the Constitution? You just did that? How did you do that? So she's already gotten in hot water. She is already late night news fodder, or at least um, the the uncensored news.
Well,
OAN's ripping her up.
they are in control and they put whoever they want in. It's not like we really have a say so. So
Mhm.
They pretend that we do, but we haven't had control of our elections in so long. It's just unbelievable that
Well,
anybody would actually think.
I hear tell that they did find Cuomo. They found him, they arrested him, and he was crying like a little girl and, spitting at him and everything else. I hear tell that he's already taken the trip to, Gitmo and already been, dealt with.
Couldn't happen to a better person.
No. Yeah, and I gotta agree with you, and I was closer to him than you are, so
No, any man that would purposely put sick people in with elderly and send the body bags with them.
Yeah, a lot but a lot of, left-leaning places did that, a lot of them.
I'm sure ours did
So,
too.
yeah, what are you gonna do? Hey, I got a suggestion for you if you're having trouble with rodents, keeping your rodents out of the greenhouses,
Hmm.
um, if you have other land, um, just till it under and just build yourself a garden. I mean, all it'll cost you is seed. Just build a garden around the greenhouse, and that will give them a food source, and they'll leave the greenhouse alone until that garden is no more. And then you can take whatever they leave from the garden, throw that on your compost pile, and next year that becomes your soil for the greenhouse.
I do have a 10-foot by 100-foot patch of it's pumpkin, squash, gourds, zucchini, and they really haven't messed with that.
Really?
The good stuff's inside.
Well, then
But
put some of the good stuff outside so they, um so they go for it, and then
yeah,
maybe they'll leave the greenhouse alone.
they didn't
Maybe.
didn't really go for it. And I've got beets and onions and carrots and kale and that kind of stuff over on the other hoop house area, and some raised beds that work out phenomenally, really well. This guy sells these conveyor belts, and somebody cuts them in half and rolls it up. So I have
They're what?
these conveyor belts, the really
Oh,
hard rubber.
okay.
And we took and put five of them together, and probably, it took longer to get them to the spot than it did take to get together. And it took longer to fill it up with dirt, but it took two screws and I set them out. And so I have raised beds, and they have been phenomenal.
Wow.
Yeah, those work out. So I got about an acre outside of garden, and the majority's inside just because it's massive. But they must just, okra. Ooh,
Mhm.
I don't know, but I do know that I'm going to put it in my big one, and we're putting that one in ground. Not, you know, um, so we're going to set it down about 6 feet so it's warmer in the winter and cooler in the
Mhm.
summer. And one of our friends that lives 40 minutes north of us, he has a bunch of greenhouses. He does a nursery, and on the ends of his greenhouses, he has taken, and he has large ones because he's commercial, but he's built them one at a time as he could afford it over 30 years, right? And so on one of them, he has the framework done on the exterior, but right at the roof line where your hoop goes, like that,
Mhm.
he has taken a frame. I think he just used plumbing material to go around the side, and then that thing folds down so all your hot air has a airflow through, and he's got it on both ends and runs it with a little battery and has a remote control and just goes, and it just starts
Wow.
lowering. So amazing, and it's really good to share this stuff so everybody knows about it. Everybody should be growing. 50s, what was it? No, 70 years ago in the 50s, everybody had a garden. Everybody knew
Yep.
how to grow. Nobody knows
Uh,
how to grow. And so, and when you have adverse um, terrain, because really the only thing that grows well here are weeds, and there's no green here, wheat grows here. you got to figure out the little tricks for your area. It was wonderful when I lived in Portland. It was, well, being outside and the pollution was not wonderful, but you had water all the time. You had more mellow, less hot, less cold, more mellow in between type of weather coming on. And you didn't have, my first garden out here, I had like a half an acre, and I had like 200 tomatoes in rows. I didn't have any leaves on them, maybe one or two here and there, because the wind strips the leaves off the plant. And
Mm-hmm.
I drug my husband out, and he's such a good husband. He's fabulous. I drug him out there, and I'm so proud. I got tomatoes growing on this plant that has 3 leaves left. He's like, "Oh, wonderful, honey. That looks great." Now I got a
Mm-hmm.
jungle.
Wow.
I got stuff coming all the way up to I think it's 15 or 17 foot tall, and coming back down. So
Mm-hmm.
it's much better for my ego.
Well, because now you've got the windbreaks in place.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
and I've created my own climate, and so today is one of those days where you don't really open it up just because it's perfect inside.
mm-hmm.
And so we've got rain clouds and occasional wind, and so but it gets kind of cold. It gets in the 40s. It's supposed to get in the low 30s later this week. So things are starting to change. My garden would already be gone by now if it was just plain outside tomatoes and summer squash, that kind of stuff. So because it got pretty cold here last week one time. But so you just got to figure out what works in your area. And greenhouses are really the only way to go if you don't want pollutants and things on your soil. So, yeah.
What do you do for normalizing the temperature in the greenhouse? You have warm days, you have cool nights. Do you have anything in the greenhouse to help normalize that temperature?
Windows and doors and roll up sides for right now. We went up to that guy's nursery, and he put in many different kinds of system. I think he had one propane heater. He had wood stoves on some of them, and he vented it out and everything. What we have, we purchased about 30 solar panels, and so they did a divining on our property, and we have quite a river underneath our property. I think it's like 60, 70, maybe 80 foot down, but there's a 40 foot deep by 80 foot wide little river that runs underneath us. And
Wow.
so we are working. He put a solar panel down there, and he was pumping up the hill. It's like 800 feet straight up, and used a solar panel and a battery. And we're spraying water down there, so we got a little crop circle going down there. The aliens have landed.
Mhm.
And a pond with some I call them pussy willows, but he says there's something else, little cattails growing down there. And I'd thrown some willows in to do some starts. I forgot about them because out of sight, out of mind. And now I have trees down there, but we have complete refilling water down there. So we worked on getting it pumped up and over. So we're going to have the water coming in, and then we're going to put our solar panels in. So water is a big problem for us when it breaks underground. We have a really good well, but we had a problem this spring. Otherwise, he wouldn't have got my dirt out. I would have already had something in there because one of our pipes bursted underneath, and we had to track where that was at and find where the water leakage was underground. And
Mhm.
it's deep enough underground, it's not getting green by leaking up. So we will be putting in solar panels, and that will help with heating. And we've got several options on doing that. We have some old radiator heaters that he picked up at an auction that we might run our water through, and then put fans on those with the solar panels and heat it that way. Um, Also, we have some old stoves, which I'll be excited to get those hooked in, and a little fireplace, on really cold nights. And I can also probably use those to do some canning on, because my little bitty stove, I just overwork it. The enamel's starting to poof, get really bad with two canners going at the same time. So
And those big pots, they
those big
collect enough
pots,
heat underneath the burner, so it just
right? And
overheats the whole top of the stove, yeah.
and I'm gonna add bricks because the bricks will hold the heat and then disseminate the heat also. So those
Right.
will be good for that. So we're looking into a multitude of different ways of heating. You know, we go with whatever is the cheapest. So and he's really smart. He's an electrician, mechanical engineer type person, and he'll be able to figure out how to keep my well, so I started bringing in things that we don't grow here: lemon trees, lime trees, art, just a variety of different things. I'm trying to get into the health and wellness because that's one of my degrees. So I've got ginger going, I've got turmeric, I've got stevia, goji berries, and so a lot of these things don't really like, when it stays cold for a month straight under 30 degrees. And so I'll keep what I can in my hoop house, which I'm working on a couple hours a day in between harvest and still growing stuff. And so, it's a good time here. I'm in my own little bubble.
Mhm.
I don't watch TV, so I just heard Cuomo was taken out. I had no idea. It was made my day. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah.
So, it's like the Amish. COVID, or that doesn't exist. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't
That
it
doesn't
doesn't
exist if you
exist
don't have a
in
TV.
Yeah, right, if you don't have a TV, you don't even, catch the flu, really.
I
"Oh, he's what? What? Amish has got a sniffle. He must have been down at the bar watching Tube again."
Yeah, and
Well,
even the
there
radio.
there's some things that I have heard that people have done to normalize the temperatures in greenhouses,
Oh,
day to night. Um, one thing to do is to put a compost pile at one end or in the center of your greenhouse,
okay.
and that compost pile
That heats
is
up.
that is putting out heat, and if it's not putting out enough heat, you can run PEX tubing through the compost pile and pump water through there, and then pump that water through those PEX tubes and then into radiators with fans on them, where you're actually converting the heat from within the compost pile out into the open air in the greenhouse and helping to keep the greenhouse warm.
Yeah,
Um
we were going to. Well, it's not 100% sure. We're going to plumb underneath and run water through that, heated water, to keep the other one. Although with it going deeper in the ground, I'm not sure if we will need to go to that extent. He may do that to my big greenhouse, but keeping, my compost is outside, and I let Mother Nature do it. I'm not very good about putting water on it. Yeah,
mhm.
maybe half a dozen times in the summer, maybe when I actually overwater my roses. But I don't turn it like I should. I just let it deteriorate as it deteriorates. But I would do that in the greenhouse, I think. But I would have to give up growing space for that. And I have a
Well,
fairly
it would be
walkway.
it would be helpful, it would give you another thing that you could do if it was raining
True.
and you couldn't do anything outside. Well, maybe I'll turn a little bit of the compost pile, and the PEX tubes that run through the pile, just run one down one way and then back the other way. They will actually absorb the heat from some of the heat from the compost pile and warm the water, and then that warm water, in the radiators radiates out into the greenhouse.
I have not thought of
Also,
compost.
if you have a situation where you don't have ready access to water, like perhaps you have to pump water from a great distance or whatever, you can use a vinyl pond liner and just sheet metal framing on one end of the greenhouse, and you can create like this 500-gallon indoor pond. and that water will warm in the summertime during the day, and then it'll bleed off that heat at night when the temperature gets down. Plus, you always have access to 4 or 500 gallons of water right there in the greenhouse. And all it would take is like a 12-volt DC pump and one solar panel, and you could water your entire greenhouse
Yeah,
with that
yeah,
water. So, I mean,
that's a great idea too.
there's no reason for people not to grow their own food. There's vertical gardening, there's hydroponic gardening, there's small scale aquaponic gardening, and you can do many of those in the house with a couple of LED grow lights. If you have a garage, you can set up a very healthy aquaponic system in a garage. You could feed the entire neighborhood just with a two-stall garage. And
I do. I actually have so much. I drive around with vegetables in my car. And if I
yeah,
see somebody up there with a sign, here's a bag of groceries,
yep.
it's gotten to the point where, we can only eat so much. I invite people to come pick. I don't want a whole bunch of people at my house, but
Yeah,
I
but
invite
you
people.
have a short list of trusted people that you invite over for an afternoon's picking and a barbecue, and then they
Yeah.
come out, they pick some food for themselves, they help you harvest, um, for other purposes that you have, and throw some burgers or some dogs on the grill and just make it a gathering, a gathering of like-minded people to come and get some food, do a little bit of work, get a little dirty, and have a good dinner, and then go home. Yeah.
Well, we haven't got the barbecue or the extra help, but I'm just grateful that it's not going to waste dropping on the ground. So, and
Mhm.
then I take it over to, I'm close to 3 or 4 different small towns, so I try to find like, food pantries and things like that
Mhm.
and drop it there. So,
Yeah. So, sounds to me like you're doing what you wanna do. You're living life on your own terms, and you're making a difference all at the same time,
and having fun.
and enjoying life. And isn't that really what we're supposed to be doing? We're supposed to be enjoying life.
I know I really just like going to town anymore. Everybody's all covered up in a petri dish and
Hermetically sealed.
hermetically sealed, and they all seem so unhappy, and they can't
Yeah,
find
yeah.
people to work because, well, I don't blame people. I can't wear a mask. I get chronic migraines from having my air suppressed, and I'll wear the shield for going in, but most places I go to places that let me in with no face mask, and one of my towns here has a pretty liberal sheriff, and they don't enforce the mask thing here. So,
Mhm.
and that's the way it should be. You should wear one if you want to. It
Yeah.
should be a freedom of choice. It's somebody mandating my health.
Mhm.
I won't say the words that come to my mind.
Mm.
What I
Thank
tell
you.
you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I would like this to stay up on YouTube. I really would. So,
Yeah.
anyway. Well, it's it's been a pleasure. I don't think anyone else is going to join us, and, I guess the takeaway from this show is that you have it within your ability and within your power to define what your own perfect life should be, and, all you need is to, exercise a little bit of creativity and figure it out.
Yeah, and keep away from the negative fear porn. That really helps.
Yeah, turn
Um,
off the damn TV.
throw that out the window, you know.
Yeah, well,
But
actually, I hear it like some of the older ones, you could lay them on their back and just, like, pop the glass out, you could plant flowers in them. You could yeah, okay, that's stupid, you know? I
that
wouldn't I
that's
wouldn't wanna
and
grow I wouldn't wanna grow flowers in anything that had, like, an electron gun in the back of it, but
yeah, it's an entertaining thought.
yeah, yeah, it's
But
entertaining. But then again, so is throwing it out of a 3rd floor window and watching it crash.
Or my favorite is run a little shooting range here, and
Oh yeah.
put a picture of your favorite governor on there and take aim.
Yeah, really. But the first shot is usually the most impactful, so you might actually either have to reserve that for yourself or charge for the first bullet that shatters the CRT,
Yeah, we're
you
pretty
know,
good shots here, so be the first person. But yeah, um, it was quite a pleasure talking to you, Paul, and I hope we've inspired people to start a garden
show me
and
some of them tomatoes again.
show you some.
You gotta sh Yeah, you gotta show me some of them tomato oh my goodness.
So that's what I get every day.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Well, I can't carry both of them over, but this is,
Oh, there
I
you
love
go.
doing this. I stand out there and eat my weight in tomatoes some days. It's just,
Uh-huh.
they're, you can't get the taste that you get in your garden at the store at all.
No, you can't.
Um, and if you're around, if you're in my area, give me a
Mhm.
call, text. I still got stuff growing. I still have beans. Let me grab those.
Okay. Well, we're pushing 3,000 miles apart pretty hard, so wow.
This is
I
what I
don't
picked
know
yesterday. Oops,
yesterday.
can't see it.
That oh,
Kentucky
oh
ones.
yeah, I can see how big the bag is. Yeah.
They're delicious. Took
There
me a
you
couple
go.
hours to get all those bad boys. I
Oh
also
yeah.
have lemon cucumbers and regular cucumbers, and I'm getting. I think I picked 3 buckets yesterday of the lemon cucumbers, and they're still coming on, but they wouldn't
Wow.
be if I wasn't in a greenhouse. Um,
Y
my growing. Oops, let me close my refrigerator.
Yeah. Good idea.
My growing season is one season I had it froze in the second week of June and the second or third week in September, and that year I think I replanted 3 times because I always do excessive amounts of seeds.
Mhm.
So when that happens, I have a backup to go in, and the sooner you can get them in the ground, the better they are. That season, I barely got green tomatoes, and it's just my climate. Now, if you're in a southern climate, you've got 10 months, especially if you're doing anything with a greenhouse or some kind of protection for your plants. So um, and this program that the Washington does, which we were so surprised that they did this, um, they reimburse you and everything, but their thing is they want it growing out of the ground and they want to extend your season. So that was why the program was brought in, and it's really made an amazing turnaround for us. It's a wonderful thing to check out if you're in Washington. So
Mhm.
but it's pretty simple to make a little tiny greenhouse, just a 10 by 20 or 20 by 30 little greenhouse with odds and ends if you got the space. I know a lot of people live slap up next to each other or in big apartments, but you can do that in your house too if you want.
Mhm.
Where there's a will, there's a desire. And I get my meat from one of my friends that she doesn't spray any of her stuff. So, and her calves grow for 2 years on grass fed. And so she's got cattle and pigs and sheep, a lot of sheep. Her sheep are the biggest, and she sells by the slice, and she supports herself doing this. So, and she cans and sells at a local fruit market down the way. So, that is also an option too. You can't really sell a lot of canned goods anywhere. You can sell dehydrated goods, and so I have a bunch of that. Unless you're in somewhere that already has the appropriate government approves documentation that they need to um, canned goods are heated in the house, so that's cooked, I think. So you have to have special permits for that. So I've been
Mhm.
trying to dehydrate most everything. Just my husband and I can't eat that many, and my friends have already had enough of my vegetables.
Oh, they have,
They're like, I don't think I need that many.
Yeah.
And we even hit
Wow.
up their neighbors and
Uh-huh.
family and stuff. So, if there's a will, there's a way, and it's very doable.
Well, that's
You could even do it in. Do you have an apartment or do you have a
I
house?
I have an apartment, minimal yard. Um,
Minimum.
I'm sure the guy that mows the lawn would appreciate if I put up a greenhouse and he didn't have to mow that spot, but, um, I, um I'm in, like, a village, and my next door neighbor is only, like, 50 feet away, and that includes the width of the driveway, and, I have a Tractor Supply next to me on the other side. I don't have to worry about them, but,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, that's nice.
so
Yeah.
yeah, I'm thinking I'm gonna have to, allocate some of my living room to growing indoors. Maybe do like a small scale aquaponic or small scale hydroponic system
Hmm.
or something, just because I don't want to deal with dirt in the house.
Yeah, dirt does bring in problems, and I now my daughter's moved out. I can use the room. My husband did not like having dirt in the dining room, which is really our only good window for sun source. And
Mhm.
so, I mean, I brought in lights and things, but I was using those for my seedlings. And so he built me a little hoop house because, well, we built it together. I'm just, I, the assistant.
Yeah.
He's the brains, and so that got the dirt out so much from being in the house where he is at.
Mhm.
Although I'm using grow lights in the girls' room because that side of the house doesn't get really good light. But just a couple of them, and I don't keep them in the house very long. Just once they start to take off and get a few leaves on them, then they go outside to the seed house. So, um,
Right.
but it is doable. I'm not really into fish poo, but
Uh,
to each his
But
own. If it works for you.
but you don't have to eat it. The plants eat it.
No, oh no, I don't mean that I would eat it. I just don't want to deal with having fish. I used to have fish and I would kind of breed them. I didn't sell them. I just did it for fun, and I would give the fish away to my neighbors or friends or whoever wanted them. But yeah, I don't, like birds, keeping birds inside. Yeah, I think they should be free to fly. I think fish should be free to swim. That's just me, though. I try to do things like I think Mother Nature would do.
Mhm.
And so my gardening skills are or my gardening ideas are a little different than most people. I really like the no-till idea. I just got to keep my husband out of there. And he's just
Mhm.
so trying to help me. Oh, look, you love this. I'm going to do this for you because I know this will be better. I need
Mhm.
no-till. And he talked to some nieces and said, "Oh yeah, no-till's the way to go." Oh, he didn't till it. He just took it all out with tractors.
Oh, there
But
you go.
now my garden is perfect, so I won't be tilling or anything like that. So, but I grow my tomatoes in bunches because when tomatoes grow, they grow laying on the ground. I don't really like them laying on the ground because then the bugs from the ground are
Mhm.
munching on it. But I grow them in groupings. So, I try, like you go fishing. How do you fish? Well, I think I would fish. If I was a fish, where would I be? So I try to think like how that fish would be. So in my greenhouse, I think of how was this growing out in Mother Nature.
Mhm.
Um, and I try to keep it that way because, Mother Nature doesn't always just grow one thing in there. Sometimes she's got some other things, and I learn each year, and I have to usually relearn stuff each year. And I always add in something new each year to challenge what I know. And I really think there are tons of different ways to be able to grow your stuff. And who says one way is the right way? And
Well,
whether it's your house or your greenhouse.
there's also naturally pest repelling plants, and you can intersperse those into your greenhouse as well and keep the bugs out of there.
Yeah. Well, I love those plants. I got, um, and there are several types. Marigolds. Now, there's a type that doesn't really stink so bad, but there is a type
Hmm.
that really detracts the bad bugs. And so I have a ton of marigolds, and marigolds really make a huge difference in my greenhouse just due to the fact that it. I'm going to pull up a picture and show you because I can. So where's my camera? Can't see it. I don't know where it is.
There it is. Oh,
There it
yeah.
is.
Okay. I see
So
it.
that's my dog. Well, one
There
of
you
the
go.
puppies. I always want to turn
Uh-huh.
the wrong way. So I have lined some areas that I know have bad bugs, and I keep those. Bay leaves too. Some of the smelling herbs that they don't really like a lot of. So I do a lot of that. Um, Also, I just grow stuff that I enjoy growing. So
Oh, yeah. There you go.
that thing's 8 foot tall.
Wow.
That one
Yeah.
touched the ceiling. So that was about 15 foot tall. And, it just brings me joy because I like taking those pictures. So
Yeah.
some things I grow in there, I grow for just my heart.
Photo opportunities.
Yeah. But
Photo
I just,
ops.
and also I feed the animals because I don't need all those seeds and I share my seeds. But also in the wintertime, when it gets really cold, the animals around here don't have a lot. And I don't feed them year round. But if we have 3 weeks of below freezing, I'll throw out a sunflower head or squash or zucchini or pumpkin, because there's no way I'm going to be able to eat all of those. And so
Mm.
I throw those out for whatever is scrounging for food out there. And,
Hmm.
you get to break them up. You could shoot at them. One year we had a pumpkin axe, and pumpkin and squash, and a couple of the hard winter ones that I had excessive amounts for when I lived in my other house for the deer. Yeah, we had a herd of deer that came down all the time, and it had stayed cold for quite some time, and there was really no food, so I put water and food out. You know, I think we're here to help each other, and not just humans. We're here to help the earth. We're here to help um, those things that live here before we came.
Yeah.
We're here to make a difference in our world, and I don't really think it's all about humans. You know,
No.
what if
No,
we're
it's about
ascending and we're here to help Mother Earth? Had anybody thought of that? I mean,
it's about all sentient living things, the earth included.
yeah,
So,
and she's pretty wonderful. She cooperates with me quite well. I'm kind of a one-sided talker, though I don't really hear much of her side, but she's been very, very wonderful to me and making everything I have grow. Um, but there's a whole world out there, and bugs get caught, dragonflies. I
mhm,
have saved and they come with me. It takes them a while to quit having fear of me. But you can tell when they're in panic mode and they're hitting the plastic and they're bumping and they're moving along and they're looking for. I know the sun is out there somewhere. The sky, and they're bumping their heads and they're bouncing off of there. And I just sometimes it takes 20, 30 minutes, but they'll go on a stick, and I'll put a stick up, or I will usher them with um, a paper onto the stick, and then they'll hold on to that. And they'll hold on to it for a while once they get out. And I set it down so they, can get off of that without having a heart attack or something. And
Yeah, right.
so, yeah, you can, there are a ton of bugs. I don't know who says there's a bee shortage, because there really isn't at my house, but I'd like to get rid of those stupid assholes, yellow jackets, those things.
Mhm.
I don't think they do any good. Sorry about the language. Those
Yeah, well,
that got caught in my sandal. I got stung in between my big toe and my medium or next toe over about 8 times one time. I was like,
well, you said it yourself. He got caught in your sandal, and he
it did,
freaked out. So,
and
was
freaked
it
me out.
really his fault?
Yeah,
Really? He should have stayed away from your feet.
I know. And it's a good thing if you are new to gardening, don't wear bright colors. They
Oh,
don't think you're
yeah.
a flower.
Do not look like a flower when gardening. There we go. And with that
And
little
I do
tidbit
some
of
rose essence stuff, so I take rose petals and I let them sweat, and then I add some alcohol and I shake it for a while, and then it smells really good. Don't put that on before you go either, because you smell like a rose petal.
yeah,
There's simple things you don't think about, when you're doing it, and good to know.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
These are all things that you learn by trial and error.
yes, sir. Yes,
And sometimes the error is more painful than others. So,
sometimes it is.
well, with that little tidbit of wisdom, I think it's time to wrap this up. Hopefully, Facebook is back up now, and people actually have, will be able to go back to their news feed. And I did have a report that Facebook was back up, but they were not updating that all of the posts were 6 hours old. So,
Yeah, I'd seen
um,
that too. I was just checking to see if they had actually gotten back up. I don't think anybody else went down. Oh, no, Instagram and WhatsApp is down. Oh, those are part of Facebook. Who knew?
yeah, yeah, Instagram and WhatsApp and Facebook, they're all together. So, um, I don't know. They disappeared because their DNS entry was not found. And that can really only happen if somebody goes in and deletes it.
That's funny. So what is a DNS entry?
DNS, see, when uh, the internet has addresses like
Yeah,
common local network addresses are 192.168.1 dot something. Okay.
right.
Now, all of the internet addresses are numbers as well. But in order for you to be able to go to facebook.com, what your browser does is it checks with the DNS server, and your browser actually says, I want facebook.com. Where can I find that? It's like a card catalog at the library. I want a book on building a greenhouse. Where can I find that? And the card catalog says you can find that at A12477. And well, the DNS server says you can find facebook.com at 47.62.221.741. And then your browser goes directly to 47.222.47.741, whatever. Your browser goes straight to that address. But you had to get the information from the DNS server so your browser would know what street address Facebook was at. That's what the DNS server does. So if somebody deleted the line that says facebook.com equals 47.221.22247.47 and then just kind of erased that for some reason,
Inter-
then you won't be able to find Facebook. Their servers are up, their network is up, but you can't find them.
right. I was just asking for a friend because I already knew all that. I did a little DOS back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
You had to write out the code sentence
Yep.
type it out. They probably don't know what a library catalog is either if you're kind of
Yeah,
young.
well, yeah, they probably haven't been near a library in the last 10 years.
Oh, my favorite place to go. I like old books.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's amazing
Yeah.
what the old books say versus what's coming out nowadays.
Oh, really? No, you can't get a history book that's worth its salt that's less than 60 years old.
Yeah, I like to
No
collect
history book
older.
yeah, no history book less than 60 years old is worth reading.
No, and
So.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
again, another tidbit of information. Oh, geez.
We're
I
just
think
full
we
of
better
it.
end this yeah, we're full of it one way or another. Okay, well, you showed your doggy. Here's my cat.
Oh, we got to get some
That's my fat
cats.
baby. That's my
Oh,
fat baby.
beautiful.
Yeah, that's my baby. Okay, well, you jumped up on me. You gotta you gotta allow me to rub your belly. So you don't want me to rub your belly? Don't jump up on me. It's it's on you. Honestly, that sounded really narcissistic. I wouldn't have rubbed your belly if you hadn't forced me to do it. Oh my god, that sounded horrible. I'm sorry, baby. I didn't mean to sound narcissistic. Those my baby cakes. Oh well. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for
Soul
having me.
Wild Hair. And
Yeah, but a
it's
great
been
day, Paul. Next time, maybe we can get somebody else, but thank you for including me.
well, thank you for joining me because it would have been really, really boring if it would have just been me. So I'm gonna shoot a little commercial and then end the show. So thanks for joining me, and thank all the viewers. Thank everyone for checking it out. We just wanted to give you something to do while Facebook figured out whether it was going to come back up or not. So
yeah, I'd
hopefully
hate to lose Facebook. They have all my photos for like 15 years, and I've
download
lost several
those.
computers because I have that electrical thing going on, and they like to boom TVs. Yeah, so don't wish bad on anything.
Maybe this is the universe telling you should download those photos.
I have almost 70,000 photos on my phone, and it crashes every time I try. I'm gonna YouTube, Google it someday, and I've got everything I need to be able to figure it out. I have to pay for extra memory just because I don't have time. And who knows
Yeah.
which picture is gonna be right once you go back to edit it. So
Right.
I'm my own problem.
Well, that's better than being your own worst enemy. Thank you for joining me, and
Bye, Paul.
thank everyone for tuning in. I am Paul from EdibleHealingPaste.com, and I'm honored to be affiliated with MyNutra, makers of hemp paste. Hemp paste is a whole food product that still contains most, if not all, of the terpenes, phytonutrients, essential elements, and CBDs of the raw hemp plant. CBD oil manufacturing methods strip away living essential elements, leaving only one, a dead CBD oil. CBD oil alone simply cannot support the entourage effect that occurs when hemp paste's essential nutrients go to work to support your optimum health. Almost 200 terpenes and over 500 other phytonutrients work together with a synergistic effect that simply doesn't happen with CBD oil alone. Visit EdibleHealingPaste.com to learn more, and be sure to check out the impressive array of hemp paste enriched products while you're there. That's EdibleHealingPaste.com. EdibleHealingPaste.com.